And we're back. Welcome to Dhosea Goes Old School Volume 1. And in this um, first part of my old school series, I decided to make a commentary first before I even start doing any reviews. I figure I would do a commentary about everybody's favorite era. I was going to review WrestleMania 14 first, but that'll come a little bit later, sometime maybe next week. So this commentary is going to be about the Attitude Era and about a bunch of other stuff from the days of when I was watching. All right, where should I start? Let's go ahead and start with why the Attitude Era really happened. All right, what it was I believe that back in the mid to late 90s, the world was changing at that time. Not only was wrestling changing, but the world was changing. The world got more interested in gangster rap music with Death Row Records, Dr. Dre, Tupac, Suge Knight, Snoop Dogg. And then you got on the East Coast, Bad Boy, B.I.G., and Puff Daddy running the ship. And you had the East Coast, West Coast thing going on. Music was going crazy. Video games were getting more and more violent. You know, the world was getting more and more violent. TV was just going there. So ECW had already had that like from 1993 onward. So from the early to mid 90s, they already had the violent thing going on with rock and roll music and hardcore wrestling and shit like that. WCW got edgier when they had the NWO and Hulk Hogan running amok down there. And even though they were PG the whole time, they got to be very adult oriented too, with all the storylines they were doing with the NWO and gang mentality and stuff like that. And then the WWF, yeah, that's right, WWF started following suit when Austin won the King of the Ring, and they told him it's like, okay, go out there and say what you feel, and he was like, you talk about your Johns, talk about your Palm 316. Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. And, you know, from that point on, you could tell WWF was taking the direction of saying, okay, the family crap, we're getting away with that. We're done with that just about. And we're going to go ahead and make my adult version of wrestling. And this is where it gets fun. All right, with Bret Hart, he's the key figure in this. Bret Hart, I would use him because he was the type of guy that enjoyed the PG rating. He didn't like what Vince McMahon was doing with his promotion, being all like, okay, yeah, now I want to have sleazier, raunchier wrestling and storylines and soap opera development being done to my show. And Brett was like, no, we should keep it PG. We should keep it cartoonish. We should keep it about wrestling and stuff like that. And him and Vince clashed over it. And then we go forward to right around, I would say maybe right around WrestleMania 13, right when this was starting to really take effect. The Bret Hart Austin match where everybody says that it was a double turn, all that shit. Bret was the heel, Austin was the face, and all that bullshit. And then right around the summer of 1997 was when the USA Canada thing happened. I thought that was great. That was when I really started becoming like a wrestling fan. Like I started looking into it more into like, okay, USA versus Canada. I don't think the business has ever had a hotter heel at that time than Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation. They were masters. Like 95% of the time, they would diss on America, and then whenever they came back to Canada or Great Britain or the United Kingdom, they were cheered like they got rescued and shit, and it was just great. And then right around the time I really got into it, it wasn't the USA Canada thing like everybody else was into. It was Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. That was the rivalry that got me really into wrestling. Was when I could remember when Shawn Michaels hit The Undertaker with a chair, and I was thinking like, oh shit, this is getting ready to be some epicness going on right here. Then we go to Ground Zero, which was just a Pier 6 brawl. You don't have many of those anymore. You really, really don't. And then the greatest Hell in a Cell match, still to this day, of all time, Shawn Taker, Kane comes in, Tombstone's Undertaker. There we go. Then let's get to where the Attitude Era began. Like officially, before it was ushered in. The screw job. All right, back to Bret Hart. With Bret Hart, he oftentimes had the reputation of being a mark for self. You know, for those people that don't know, I mean, I'm sure the internet wrestling community knows this, but he signed a 20-year contract, and then Vince is like, I'm verbally breaking it. You know, I can't afford to keep you here. Ted Turner's come between us. Go to WCW. Bret's like, no, I want to stay here. I want to stay here. We can't afford you. And, you know, Bret was being a mark. He was like, you know, I don't mind losing, but I can't lose in Canada. I still think to this day, the whole Canada thing is funny to me. The entire Canada, I can't lose in Canada and lose to Shawn type thing. Here's the deal. No matter where you perform at, even if it's in your hometown, you're going to get your ass beat. You know, you're going to lose in your hometown. I don't care if it's a pay per view or a house show or a TV taping or you're live. You're going to lose in front of your home crowd. So I always thought that was a bit of just selfishness on Bret's part. And I just think when you're on your way out, and I strongly believe this to this day, when you are on your way out, you got to do the job. I know there are people that haven't done the job, and there are probably going to be people that won't be doing the job on their way out. Like Taker, he won't be losing on his way out. I think he's too respected to do the job on his way out. They're just going to be like, all right, Taker, go out there, do the tombstone, that's it. But Bret was like, you know, I'm not going to lose to Shawn, much less in Canada. And Vince was like, all right, well, fuck you. You know, here's what he did. He basically gave Bret the scenarios like, okay, here's what will happen. We have a plan for you to where it's going to end in a double disqualification. You and Shawn are going to continue your rivalry to the Royal Rumble. Shawn wins. The next night, you come out and say, if I can't beat him, I'm going to retire from wrestling. Then you take the belt off of Shawn Michaels, and then you do the job to Stone Cold. Bret Hart would have been on his way out of the WWF anyway. I strongly believe that. I don't think he would have lasted into 98 at all because given that Austin came in. And then what happens is, of course, the screw job happens, which people, you know, still to this day are like, Vince shouldn't have screwed Bret. Well, it's like, dude, this is the deal. When you are on your way out, like I just said, you got to do the job no matter what the circumstances are. There are going to be people that won't be doing the job, but a majority of the time, when you leave to go to another company and you're the champion, you're going to do the job. That's just how it goes. And whether you like it or not. And then we go to where Shawn Michaels was playing the fucking political game. He didn't want to drop the belt to anybody. He wasn't wanting to drop it to Taker. He wasn't wanting to drop it to Shamrock, Owen, anybody. You know, and then you got Stone Cold, who is the hottest freaking thing, you know, swearing, saying fuck you, fuck your shit, I'm the man. You know, I'm that type of guy that is going to be leading the new WWF, whether you like it or not. And then Shawn Michaels got his back all fucked up. Had he not got it fucked up, him and Triple H would have had a match at WrestleMania 15. I strongly believe that. They would have done a year worth of build-up over who would have got to be the leader of DX, and that's how I would have wanted it to go. I would have wanted it to be Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at WrestleMania 15 once and for all to see who really could lead DX. And then Stone Cold came in, won the belt, and now let's get into the Attitude Era officially, quote unquote, being ushered in. What I liked about it was the edginess of the Attitude Era and how these guys went there and they made it like a soap opera. Like you never knew. Thank God for the internet at the time. A lot of people didn't have it, but you never knew what was going to happen. You never really knew it. Like the main things you marked out for each and every week was Taker, Kane, DX, The Nation, Austin, Vince, and Mick Foley. And on occasion, whenever he'd show up, Shawn Michaels. I mean, he wouldn't come all that often, but whenever he was there doing shit, you know, you'd marked out for those guys because those were your guys. And then, you know, let's see, what else did I really like about it? I liked somewhat of the hardcore mentality, but they overdid it a lot of the time. It was way too overdone. And they just had too much blood. They did too much chair shots, which is why you see guys like the way they are today, and things of that nature. And let's see, what else did I like about it? What I liked about it was probably my favorite storyline behind Austin McMahon was the Undertaker Kane storyline. That was the thing that got me really into it was Taker Kane. You know, those two guys going out there having great matches. telling a story of like, okay, you killed our parents. No, you did. No, you did. No, you did. And they're just going to keep fighting over and over and over again until there's a set winner. And my favorite Undertaker match, probably of all time at a WrestleMania, would have had to have been the one where he fought Kane. I mean, that was Kane's easily best WrestleMania that he's ever had. He's never had another one better than that. And it's like, as far as what I liked about the Attitude Era, that's pretty much about it. You know, okay, now I also like the Divas too, but here's what I really didn't like about the Attitude Era. What I hated about it was, first things first, was the sex and the racism. Stuff like that was where I just got turned off. Even the wrestlers themselves had said, this shit here just, it really pisses me off the way Vince wants to take this direction. I mean, I know he wants to be adult oriented, but you don't have to have a group of Mexican wrestlers and Caucasian wrestlers and black wrestlers all feud with each other over race and stuff like that. I never liked that shit. I always hated that in wrestling. I never liked it. What I also didn't really like was the sex things they really tried to do, like Mae Young giving birth to a hand, people who have families having an affair, that type of shit. I never really liked that. Like, if I wanted to watch something like that, I'd watch it like on HBO or something like that, or like Cinemax or whatever. But, in wrestling, that doesn't belong. And the third thing is, what I didn't like really so much about it was, honestly, Vince Russo's bullshit booking of like mid card wrestlers and the lack of wrestling itself. Like, you'd put them in stupid gimmicks, you'd make it too comedy oriented, you'd have guys go out there and just do like matches over really no build up. Like, this guy doesn't like this guy, so now they're going to fight at the pay per view. And ever since 1998, that's the way I felt that wrestling really has been. It's just like wrestling died in the Attitude Era. That's just how I see it. Since March 29th, 1998, when Austin won the title, to me, that's when wrestling, when two guys going at it actually meant something. That's when it died. Because after that, all it became was sports entertainment, a soap opera, gang mentality, sex, and, exploits of drugs and alcoholisms and affairs and stuff like that. And I hated that. And what pisses me off now today is when people say, oh man, we need another Attitude Era. It was great wrestling. Not really, people. The Attitude Era really wasn't great wrestling. The Attitude Era was more of just everything I just said. And it's like, people are like, oh, we need to bring back the Attitude Era. No, we don't. And here's why. The reason why is because it would be a disservice to the originals. These guys would not fit. Stone Cold would get to be ashamed of Randy Orton. Stone Cold would be like, dude, what the fuck? You're not supposed to have my gimmick. You're supposed to do your own thing and all that type of shit. Cena wouldn't fit. All these guys wouldn't fit. None of them would. And, like I just said, the wrestling died, and ever since then, it's just been like that. And the last thing that I didn't like about it, before I'm going to wrap up this commentary, was the Owen Hart thing. The Owen Hart thing is what really did it for me. That's when I said, okay, enough's enough of this shit. I almost wanted to quit watching wrestling when I found out that Owen Hart passed away. I almost was on the verge of stopping. And this is the thing. Owen Hart was a fantastic wrestler. He is no doubt about it. I don't care what anybody says. He's the greatest wrestler alive or deceased to have never won a world heavyweight title. And putting him in that blue blazer gimmick just because he didn't want to have an affair with Deborah on screen because Owen had a wife and kids. See, this is stuff like that that just really pissed me off. And it's just like, that wasn't enough for the writers and Vince Russo, and that wasn't going to sell tickets. So they put him up in the blue blazer gimmick, and they had him go up in the Kemper Arena. Everybody knows Owen didn't want to go up there. Owen shouldn't have gone up there. I wouldn't care if I risked my spot. I would have said, fuck this. I'm not going to do it. My health is more important. I'm afraid of heights. I don't care if I get, I don't care if you suspend me or whatever. I'm not going up there. I'm not doing it. He goes up there. The trigger accidentally gets released and he falls to his death. And then the thing is, you stop the show. You stop the show. 2 matches in. I don't care. You stop the show. You give the fans their money back. All you have to do is send in your cable bill. They'll send you back the price you paid for it, or you get at least the next pay per view for free. And yet Vince McMahon goes on and puts on another match while after they card him out. And the wrestlers on top of that didn't even really like having to do that. And a lot of them learned that Owen passed away while they were wrestling. And stuff like that just made me sick. And it's just like, dude, the effects that this stuff had at that time almost made me want to quit watching wrestling. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I was just too hooked to it. But to Vince and all you writers, man, fuck, what were you guys thinking about? For real, I mean, I miss Owen Hart dearly. I do. But it just goes to show sometimes you got to do really, 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 really stupid shit to make it in the wrestling business. And my advice to future wrestlers out there, to all you aspiring to get into WWE or TNA or whatever, don't do pills and booze. Please leave that stuff alone. These people today need to learn. These people today need to learn. You only have one life. Make the best of it. Please try not to waste your life on alcohol and drugs and pills, because wrestling is an emotionless, passionless business. Vince and these other writers only care about how much money you make them. I don't really know if they care really about your health and well being. It depends. I wouldn't know, but judging from what I see, it's always like that. You see a lot of these guys from the Attitude Era and beyond the 90s saying, you know what, fuck all this. I wasn't really well taken care of during my time there. So all I ask is that you people who aspire to get into the wrestling business, please be careful, because as I just said, it's emotionless, it's passionless, and make your decisions wisely. That's all I have to say. I hope you all enjoyed this commentary, and I will catch you guys later. Go to wrestlingrevolution.com, the epicenter for all your wrestling needs. Peace out.